everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm Fabiola Baughman, and this channel is about Indian spirituality. So today I want to talk to you about a project I've been working in the last 4 to 5 months. It is called my upcoming book, Awakening the EarthKeeper Within, A Journey into the Heart of the Andes. And basically this book is about the experiences that I've had throughout the years working with shamans, working with the mountains, the spirits of the mountains actually, and the different spirits that live in the Andes. And as some of you may know, the spirits of the mountains back in 2021 gave me the assignment to film a documentary, which later on became an award-winning documentary. And now I'm writing the book about that experience, and also combining that information with all the different learning techniques and different things that I learned in my journey in the Andes, in my different journeys actually. And so Awakening the EarthKeeper Within, Journey to the Heart of the Andes is basically a love letter to the Indian people, understanding what it means to become an Earthkeeper, and how can we as human beings can become give a very unique gift to the world. So I just wanted to start a series in which I would talk about the different chapters and the different parts of the book, so you can have an idea of what you would be reading if you were to purchase the book. So I want to start with the foreword. The foreword was written by a dear friend of mine. I call her my ñañay Wilma, my sister Wilma Pinedo Sanchez. Is actually a well-renowned curandera, shamanic practitioner from the Andes, and she comes from a long lineage of healers. Her family has been healing generations in the area of Wasao for many years, and I call her basically shaman royalty. And what I love about Vilma is that she is so in tune with Pachamama, so in tune with the feminine energy, but at the same time, she's a very driven person, and very much that I would call her kind of like the shaman of the new times, So that's exactly what we need right now. And I had the honor that she accepted to write the foreword for my book, so I am just profoundly grateful for her for taking the time to do this for me. So I just wanted to share a few of her words and see what it makes you feel, and also to share a little bit of her wisdom, because her words, when she talks, her words are so profound and so touching, and I just wanted to give you a little sample of that. So let's see. The foreword, like I said, was written by her, and she begins by talking about you, the reader. She starts welcoming you into her space, the sacred space, and she honors your pacarina. What is the pacarina? The pacarina is your sacred place where you were born. So that is a very, very special place, and she holds it as a holy space, and she calls you into a tinku, a sacred encounter of many cultures, right? And her culture is the Quechua culture, and she welcomes whatever your culture is into this tinku, into this gathering. And she welcomes you with her ancestors, the spirits of the mountains that surround her, and welcomes you into the story of the book, because many souls are going to receive these words, she says. Her hope is that in each phrase and each vibration that reaches your spirit, something awakens within you, a spark of light, a seed of hope, she calls it. Because too often we neglect the voice of the soul, while the body cries out in silence for a new dawn, a transformation. We go through life hoping that someday life would change, right? And in her case, her job is to help so many people to achieve the transformation. And she was the first one that helped me achieve the transformation. So then she continues and talking about the importance of the sun, the rising sun, right? That we all, for the Indian people, this rising sun represents rebirth, not only physical but also spiritual. And this book is kind of like that, like a sunrise, a moment of renewal for you, a rebirth for those who feel lost in their own path and their thoughts. And basically, she mentions that the message of this book is very simple. From her perspective, taking 5 minutes of your day to pause, to rest in silence, either in thought, in prayer, or in stillness, we can reconnect to the depth of unconditional love that only a mother can give. And who is this mother? Pachamama. So she knows that if we just take this time away from the chaos of life, wherever you live, if you live in New York City or you live in Lima, Peru, right? Especially in those two cities, there's so much chaos. If we take that moment of stillness, we can reconnect with our dear mother, Pachamama. And Pachamama chooses the time, the place, and the family in which we're born into. That's what she says, right? And that is so important, to honor that, to honor your ancestors, and to welcome that space that was created by the earth. So part of the gifts that Pachamama wants for us is that we find true happiness. Like any mother, she wants us to be happy. She wants us to find joy, no matter what profession we are, right? She says, yet many live only on the surface of life, forgetting the essential work of nourishing the soul. Pachamama rejoices when her children succeed, not only in their careers, but also in living with joy, right? What mother doesn't want joy for her children? Still, from the heart, we must always keep a place to honor Pachamama and never destroy her. We must remember we are part of the earth, and at the close of the cycle of life, we return to her, right? So, and she continues saying, if humanity were to embody the union of the teachings of the condor and the eagle, as foretold in the ancient indigenous prophecies, what a beautiful world we would create. The world will begin to transform little by little. Like the birds in flight, the strong will support the weak, the elders will guide the young, and all would live in harmony. So for the people that are not familiar with the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, there is this prophecy, indigenous prophecy, and it comes from many indigenous communities, not only from the Hopi culture, but also from other many cultures around the world. And basically what it says is, when the knowledge of the North with the knowledge of the South, basically the technology, the advancements of the people of the North, which is, we're talking about North America and also the Western world, with the people of the South, the indigenous wisdom, come together. So we bring them together. We will create a beautiful world in which everyone can thrive, right? So that is important to know, because for the longest time, we have experienced such a sad change in which the indigenous cultures have been oppressed, criticized, judged, treated as ignorant. And in reality, we didn't realize that a lot of the wisdom that we need to have in order to be happy people, to be this happy new humanity, comes from these indigenous cultures. So we have all this advance in the Western world, and bringing that together with indigenous wisdom will create a beautiful, wonderful world. And that's what she's talking about. In her last message, she says, if you ask Mother Earth with faith for what your heart truly longs for, she will return it to you like the petals of a rose as they open, so that you may blossom fully along in your path. From the depth of my heart, I offer these words to you and to all who read this book. So I thank you, Wilma, for sharing those words of wisdom for my book, and I hope that people find those words enlightening. Okay, and then I also wanted to talk to you about something that guided me along the way. The first time I went to Peru, I started receiving what is called the Munaiki rites, R-I-T-E-S, right? And basically, what are they? Basically, they're like transmissions, energetic transmissions that are embedded into your luminous field. For the people that don't know what a luminous field is, it's basically like your aura or the energy that, put it in simple terms, represents your soul or your spirit that embodies this body, right? So the container of this body. And what happens is that in order to live in harmony with nature, to understand the deep answers of life, to get the deep wisdom of nature, you have to be initiated by nature. And that happens usually for the shamans, for the practitioners, for the curanderos, and in the Andes. They usually strike by lightning, or they have some kind of awakening, either using plant medicine or other phenomenon that might happen in nature, right? So, but those, once they receive those rights are transmittable to other people. And that's what the Munaiki rights are. Basically, so we not all can be hit by lightning and survive, obviously, right? The people that receive those rights realize now, the ancient shamans realize that it's time to share that wisdom, those energetic imprints that only come from nature, and to share it with the world. So we all can have a different shift in perspective of how life is supposed to be. So, and those rights of light, those are transmitted as seeds. They are there to create a new humanity. Imagine that you were going on a spaceship into Mars, and you're bringing all these seeds, to plant on the red planet to start a new humanity. Basically, that's what the transmissions are, what the rights are like. They're seeds that you can make grow and create a new reality for your life. But in this planet, right? How it was always supposed to be. Recreate that humanity that we were supposed to be. So, basically, they're not there. What I like about the Munaiki rites, and let me break it down. Munai means love, right? But not like the passionate love or romantic love. It's supposed like the universal love, the unconditional love, the energy that moves everything, right? Munai means love, and ki or chi comes from energy. So basically, these are rites or initiations that are the frequency of unconditional love, right? And they can be transmitted from person to person. And those are the ones that I received when I initially started going to the Andes. I was very fortunate that I received the first 3 rites, and later on that year I received the rest of the rites. So they are not dogma, and they're not religion, and that's what I like about that. I was a very religious person since I was a little girl, because I was very spiritual. I just was born that way, and I was always going to church, and I was helping in church, and I was very fortunate that I was born in Peru, because the Catholic Church in Peru is very loving, and I really loved that, and I was embraced by my community. I was supported. My mom, the priests, the friends that she had created a very nice, safe environment to grow up. But then as I moved to the United States and I became an adult, outside of my community, I started realizing that religion can be pretty suffocating, right? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with religion. Please don't misinterpret my words. I just think that we are all at different paths, or different parts of our paths in our spirituality. And for me, religion serve a very important part of it, but later on I realized that I needed to go more into spirituality, and I needed to have more freedom to explore that. So when I started receiving the Munaiki rites, I started realizing that there was this incredible wisdom that comes straight from nature. That there were codes in nature that were hidden in the vegetation, in the plants, in the stars, in the lightning, that can teach us so much about the wisdom of Pachamama. So these initiations basically are 10 initiations so far, and it's basically almost like a summary or a compendium of the different rites of initiations that shamans receive directly from nature. So let's start with the first one. The first one is called the Healer's Rite. And basically, for all the healers out there that work with their hands, right? Either doctors, curanderas, midwives, or anyone that is able to move and shift energy, I can do that. The hands have to be activated, right? And that is the first rite of the Munaiki, the Healer's Rite. It has the ability to awaken the power to heal within yourself and to heal others. And not only that, it connects you with a series of luminous beings that come to assist you. So you're not, when you're doing your healing work, you are being supported by a lineage. And that's what I love about it, that when I do my healing work, I'm not alone. I'm not working alone. Okay, the next one is called the bands of power. And the next three rites, actually, I call them the technical rites, because they're actually going to install something really tangible in your luminous field. The next one is called the bands of power. And basically what happens is that in order to truly heal, to truly heal, there has to be a balance within your body, within your luminous field as well. And you probably have heard about the elements in Chinese medicine. In the Andes, the elements, okay, are considered the earth, right, or hamas, the earth, the water or flow, right, fire or transformation. Then we have wind or air, right? And then we have light. So the bands of power basically are like luminous belts that are kind of like weaved throughout your luminous field. And when you are in balance and you have these bands of power, it acts as a protection to foreign energy, and it transmutes it into something else. So for instance, I had an experience in which I was next to a person who had suffered a pretty severe stroke, and my energy was being drained. So as soon as I activated my bands of power, this energy got transmuted, and I was able to hold this person. I was able to be in this energy. Now, because I am a healer, I'm quite sensitive, because I should be able to feel the energy. So the bands of power to me is something very, very, very important. So this is a protection that we can install in our luminous field. Especially, I hear so much about, especially in my culture, right? In Peruvian culture and Latin culture, there's this concept of witchcraft, or the concept of somebody did something evil to me, kind of like the evil eye or something. So the bands of power is one of many ways that you can protect your luminous field to psychic attacks or to energy attacks. The next rite, is called the harmony rite. And that's also another type of protection, but at the same time, it's a type of power that can be installed in your luminous field. So, and basically what happens is, if you guys are familiar with chakras, they are 7 chakras along your body, right? And I mean, if you've done yoga, you're familiar with the chakras, the root chakra, the second chakra, and so on and so forth, right? So, and the harmony rite, and I love the harmony rite. It's my favorite because I loved animals. We have the ability to receive these archetypes, animal archetypes, into our luminous field that gives us the properties or the qualities of these animals. So in the case of the Andes, there are 3 main animals that they work with, and then we have one more that was added later on, right? So we have the serpent, right? The serpent teaches us to see the world in a more matter-of-fact way, very concrete, very factual, and not with a lot of emotion. Things are what they are at the physical level. That's what the serpent level allows you to see. So that is the serpent archetype, kind of like acting like a reptile. If you were a reptile and you were trying to survive in the jungle, how will you act, right? You will worry about your survival, about how healthy you are, and how to provide for yourself, right? So the archetype allows you to just be very not reptilian, but very concrete in your way of thinking and your way of analyzing things. Then the next one is the jaguar or the otorongo, archetype that gets installed in your second chakra, and in the second, which is below the belly button, right, and the kind of like the tummy part. And that archetype, the jaguar, is one of my favorite ones, because imagine that you were a jaguar and you are going through life exploring shadows in the jungle, right? Or you're exploring situations in life in which you are not quite sure what's going on. So my jaguar, especially for me as a healer, my jaguar is very present through my office when I'm healing someone, protecting me and protecting the person that I'm working on. But in other cases, like if you're not a healer, it protects you from danger. It protects you and it lets you know, if something is coming your way and you might be threatened. So having that, the jaguar archetype installed in you keeps you very safe. Okay, the next one is in the solar plexus, the third chakra, and that is called the hummingbird, right? The hummingbird archetype. And what I love about the hummingbird, I'm looking at my hummingbird right here. I have a frame of a beautiful hummingbird. The hummingbird, it's so beautiful because if you think of a hummingbird, it's not only energetic and it's very small, right? In many cases, most hummingbirds are very small, but it also enjoys everything, drinks from the nectar of life, basically. And the hummingbird, not even though it's a very small bird, it can migrate thousands of kilometers, thousands of miles, from Canada all the way down to Peru, And so it means it's small but powerful, right? So having the archetype of the hummingbird installed in your luminous field gives you a lot of power and a lot of expressive ability. So I love having that archetype and working with it. The next one there are 3 more, and one of them is installed. 4 more. The next one is the archetype of the condor and the eagle. Condor and eagle, because both of them have different traits that we can bring together. And it gives you the ability of having perspective in life. Imagine that you were a beautiful condor or a beautiful eagle, and you're going through life looking at from up above, right? Kind of like an angel, right? Kind of like a spirit that can see everything at the same time, because the vision is so sharp, right? They need to, in order to find their prey, in order to find carcasses, in the case of the condor, and they need to see everything, right? So imagine that you have the ability to have that big perspective. So to me, as a healer, it helps me a lot, because when I have a client, I can see the big picture. I can see exactly what's going on, whether if there's a chemical imbalance, if there is a trauma, PTSD, let's call it post-traumatic stress disorder, or I'm not trying to diagnose, but of a severe trauma that is going on in the life of the person, or if there's something that is keeping that person in the loop of victimhood, etc., etc., etc. But and it's very easy, because the archetype of the eagle and the condor allow me to see the big picture and whether or not this person is actually fulfilling her destiny, and how frustrating can that be, that you're struggling through life, you came for a purpose, you came for a mission, and you're not even close to that. So the eagle shows me whether if this person is on her path, and I love that, because it helps me realign them and put them on the right path. So that's a beautiful, beautiful archetype to have. And the next 3 are 3 archangels that are going to allow you to work at the subconscious, the conscious, and the hyperconscious level. So I'm not going to go too much more into the harmony rite, because I want to talk about the other rites. If you want to learn more, you can get my book and learn more about this rite. Okay, the next one is called the seer rite. And the seer rite is another technical rite in which we not only activate the third eye, but I've known many seers. In fact, most seers do not have, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of seers do not connect the third eye to the heart. And I've been criticized for doing that, but that's a different perspective. I truly believe that in order to help someone, you have to have compassion for them. Okay, you have to be a little bit of a God in some ways, and let me explain why. Because God loves everyone, and the Creator loves everyone. And in order to truly help someone, you need to understand them and have a little bit of compassion for them. To have that little okay, I understand you, I get you, And so it's not only the ability to see, but also the ability to see the information from the perspective of the person that you're trying to help. And so that's beautiful about the seers, right? Because it helps you to help and see energy with compassion. So that is a beautiful, beautiful rite. Okay, and then the next three rights, probably four rights or so, are the guardianship rights basically, and they are a little more similar to the rites of initiation that the shamans of the Andes have to serve their different communities. For instance, we have the daykeeper rite. So the daykeeper rite is equivalent to the Pacos. And so the Pacos basically are the curanderos or the medicine men and women of the Andes. They're the ones that are going to tend to the community. They're going to take care of the basic things of the community. For instance, and it happens in many cultures. I truly believe my mother was a daykeeper because her role in her church, in her community, was to take care of the flowers in the altar, right? So in many cultures, in Stonehenge, in Machu Picchu, and other cultures and religions, there are altars. And the persons that take care of that do that kind of work, they do that kind of medicine, is called the daykeeper rite. Okay, so it connects you, this particular rite connects you to the midwives, the altar keepers, the shamans who tend the cycles of life, also that are connected to the seasons, and awakens to your ability to honor the sacred in every day, from sunrise to sunset, from birth to death. Bringing flowers to an altar, it shows so much respect for whatever is holy, whatever is sacred. So the daykeeper rite is a very cool rite, and it's just one of my favorites, really. Okay, and the next one, well, actually, the next one is one of my favorites too, is the wisdom keeper rite, or Alto Misayok. And the Alto Misayok, I love this one because it's the one that connects you with the mountains. It's the one that guards the mountains and the Apus. So in Peru, we have this culture in the Andes, not so much on the coast, but in the Andes, there's this belief that the mountains and everything is alive. So the Apus are living beings. They're living, breathing beings that help you in your life accomplish whatever you want, whatever you need. And the Alto Misayok, or the wisdom keeper, is the one that communicates actively with the mountains. And as you become like the mountain, as you will hear my story in the book, you become the guardian of wisdom and tradition. So it's a beautiful rite. That is the wisdom keeper, or the Alto Misayok rite. The next one is the EarthKeeper rite. And basically, it calls you into taking care of all life. You step in a lineage of protectors that dream the world into being. Not for personal gain, but for the healing of the earth and the generations to come. So the EarthKeeper, and basically this book is about becoming an EarthKeeper, understanding how we are supposed to take care of life, and turning on those gifts that can help you do that. Okay, the next one is the Starkeeper rite, and I love this one because it's one that connects you to the stars, and what I love about it is that also not only reminds you of your cosmic origins, but because in the Indian tradition, we believe that we descended from the Pleiades, right? From the stars. And so in many native traditions here in the United States, many tribes, especially we become attuned with this rite to the time turning of the Pachacuti. So what is the Pachacuti? The Pachacuti is the time we're living in right now, basically since probably 2012 or so, because it's a time of a lot of change, and where we're becoming the new humanity, and we're bringing that information down into the earth. So the Starkeeper rite makes you very aware of it, and it connects you again with the cosmic realm. And there's a tradition in the Andes in which you're going to hear more about it throughout my next videos. It is called, there's a temple in Coyoiriti, which is the lore, basically translates, the lore of Coyoiriti translates into the lore of the snow stars. And there's a tradition of going into this temple, this stone that's believed that came from the stars, to receive that energy of the universe. And that is something that it was widely known for centuries in the Andes, and it was later transformed through the Catholic religion and all that. So the Starkeeper rite is a wonderful rite, and I will be talking more about that in the book. Okay, the next one is the creator right. And the creator right is a fairly new right. And it basically awakens that light of creation within you. So you no longer work as a seeker, but as a luminous being capable of shaping reality with love. So if you, and I know all of us are capable of doing that because we're all creative beings, but in a way of like this right activates that so you can create something beautiful, wonderful beyond your wildest dreams. And for me, honestly, the creator right was so powerful to use when I was doing the documentary because I was not a filmmaker. I was a scientist, a frustrated scientist, become shaman, and I was just like, okay, if the apples came to me and they asked me if I could do this, to create this thing, right? And I was just like, what? So, but I was able to do it because I believed in that flow, and that creative energy that allows me to believe that I can make something happen, and it happened. And I was not alone. I had a wonderful team. And when you believe in that creation, it just becomes a reality because if you're meant to create it, everything is it. I mean, you're going to work hard, but at the same time, you're going to have the team that will support you to create such a wonderful thing. So the creator right is almost like bringing you to the nth degree of your creative power. So I love that right. It's a beautiful right. And I encourage you to read that part of the book. Okay. And the next one and final right is the right of the womb, the feminine space, right? So this is very important, especially for women. And I want to say for men too, because obviously they don't have a uterus, obviously, but they came from one. And when we talk about that, when we talk about healing the womb space, we talk about healing the feminine womb, the feminine, the attacks on the feminine, which has been so damaging throughout the eras. So that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about in the book, how we can create that feminine space, that womb space. And it's a beautiful right. And it's amazing how, recently, especially, we're starting to realize that the feminine has suffered so much. And it's important that we start healing that space, not only for us, for the generations to come. So yeah, so those are the Munaiki rights, and that's just a little kind of like a overview of the foreword and the explanation about the Munaiki rights that I give in the book. So yeah, those are not even. It's not even chapter 1. It's just a preparation to chapter 1. And I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that brought your interest. And yeah, continue watching my next videos. I will be talking about the next chapters of the book. And hopefully you get excited. I spend a lot of time creating this book. It's taking me many years to learn. The wisdom that I learned from the people of the Andes is not my wisdom. It's their wisdom. And I just want to share it with you. And hopefully it can change your life, transform it like it transformed mine. So I just want to finish up with a little prayer. Thank you for everyone who listened to this actually quite long video. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for receiving the wisdom. And thank you for being here as we create the path for this book, Awakening the EarthKeeper Within. So you can awaken the EarthKeeper that is waiting to come from deep inside of you and to welcome this new earth that we're creating together. Thank you so much for all your hard work and for your patience. Until next time, take care.